Howdy shipmates, and welcome back to the Trekkie Gamer. I'm Patrick. In case you aren't familiar with me, I was going to be putting out part 2 of my Build the Future mini-series that I'm working on, where I start, working on, in this case, some 32nd century material, but a package arrived very recently, and the only package that I was expecting was my Star Trek Adventures second edition stuff. So I thought I would share some of that. I've already done reviews on the Quick Start and the core book, but I wanted to show off they did, for a free RPG day back in July, offer the Quick Start in a printed edition. And while you can look at the Quick Start and say, "Oh, hey, it's 48 pages," until you actually are holding it in your hands and realize, oh, the Quick Start is 48 pages. That's a pretty hefty little booklet. I don't know if they still have these in stock. You'd have to go check the website to see. But even the Quick Start has new book smell. And I've already done the core book, but I wanted to show you how pretty. I'm not sure which side gets the better shot, but how pretty the limited edition core rule books are. Obviously, Operations Red. Red's my personal favorite color. So it was tough to choose, but in the end, it wasn't that tough. It's a hefty book. I think we discussed this during the review that I did of the core book from just the PDF. I've got a standard edition coming eventually, but that's the comp copy that I get as a contributing author. And this I got from me. The main difference besides the cover is the fact that the limited edition comes with ribbon bookmarks built in. The standard edition does not, but Klingon new book smell, because it opened up to those. The reason we're here, though, is to discuss this bad boy. The Game Toolkit comes in many parts, as these things often do. You got the booklet, which is a 40-page booklet, nice and shiny, also with new book smell. That's the last time I'll bring that up. I just happen to love it. We will when I start the main actual discussion, I'll bring up the PDFs so that we can get a better view. I just wanted to show that. See, it's got reference cards. 8 of these, which are on fairly sturdy cardstock. My only complaint is this poster. And I'm only complaining about the poster because of one thing. Hey, look how pretty that map is. Don't you think that would look great hanging on your wall, or maybe laminated on your game table to show off to your players? The problem is, it's a two-sided print, and the other side is that gorgeous, gorgeous wraparound cover that Paolo Puggioni put together for the standard edition core rulebook. I've mentioned this to Jim before, but I'm going to say it one more time. So Jim, I know you're listening. You listen to all these things at some point, and we're all grateful, all of us who do them. If that poster was offered as a separate purchase, I guarantee you some sales, because there's some of us who have trouble deciding which side we want to show off more. Just saying. And lastly, but not least, by any stretch of the imagination, is this gorgeous, heavy-duty GM screen. Now, I know GM screens are not everybody's cup of tea. There's a lot of people, many of them friends of mine, who like to have everything out in the open. They see this as somehow adversarial. I see this as protective. I get a little enthusiastic with my dice sometimes, and these serve as a great backstop to keep the dice from flying across the table and possibly causing injury, which nobody wants. And the fly sheet, I may as well show that off. Since I'm showing off fly sheets, let me show off this one. This is from the limited edition core rulebook. These things are not getting enough love because they're all different. This is Uhura on the Ops version. The Science one has Spock. And the Command Gold one, of course, has Captain Kirk. There's that. All right, let's get switched over into the PDFs so I can give you a little bit clearer version. Spoiler, I think this is a great kit. The GM screen, not quite as thick as the first edition GM screen, but it's still going to serve as decent body armor if you put it in your book bag. Very sturdy, and the joints are set up so that you can bend it in multiple directions if you need to suit your table. But the reference cards are nice. Like I say, they're sturdy. They're on cardstock. I know some folks are probably going to laminate them just to keep them safe on the table. Probably not a bad idea. But they have a lot of very useful information that I think a lot of players are going to find helpful at the table. GMs too. And let's see, the booklet has a lot of great stuff in it. So let's get switched over here. Hold on a second. There we go. There's that. Okay, so here's the booklet. Now, that cover is by Carlos Cabrera. The art for the screen itself is by Paolo Puggioni, who also did the cover for the core book and the quick start. Now that I think about it, yeah, Paolo does a lot of good work. We're very fond of his of his art here at the Trekkie Gamer. So you've got a fairly even split between player resources and game master resources. This is not a GM toolkit. This is a game toolkit because a lot of it is player-centric. The first section is mostly it's about space frames. There are a bunch of extra space frames in here, as well as some extra special rules and mission profiles. The primary special rules are like the mission pod. This will come in handy for those of you who love the Nebula and the Luna. And four nacelle stability. Words are hard. Which is for classes like the Constellation and the Sagan from Star Trek Picard are both notable examples that benefit from that. I also love the fact that the first thing we get is the Freedom class, the USS Franklin from Star Trek Beyond. The Kelvin movies are now part of the game canon. And I can't tell you how much I'm glad to hear that, just because there's some interesting things, in my opinion. I know that the Kelvin movies are not everybody's cup of tea, but there's a lot of interesting things that can be taken from those movies and be applicable across the entire franchise and into your game. And if you are running in the 22nd century, in the Enterprise era, this is a predecessor developed around the same time as the NX class. So it gives you a little bit of extra material and other ship classes to use with the with that era. You've also got the Walker class, one of my favorite things from Disco, which I know is also not a lot of people's cup of tea, but I happen to like this ship a lot. Pioneer. This is from Star Trek Online. Thomas Maroney, I think, is the guy responsible for this one in terms of game stats. I know he did all the Starship, provided all the Starship art for us, and we are so fortunate to have such a great relationship with him. The Crossfield class from Disco. The Miranda, the workhorse. This is a class that has over a century of history. The Oberth, which I think is a little delicate, but some people like them. It's a great science ship. It's got a lot of utility to it. I just think it's fragile. The Columbia, I think this one is another STO design. One of the things I like about it is scale 3. It's a smaller ship, and over the years as I've worked on this game and played the game, I've become a lot more fond of these smaller ships, as especially for player characters. As the starting player character ship, maybe they can move up to something else, but I like this because there's not as much to keep track of, things of that nature. What else we got in here? We got the Constellation, 4 nacelles, the Nebula, mission pods, and a list of possibilities that can be used in that slot. The Akira, a lot of people see this as, oh, it's a big gold carrier and things like that, and I've never really gotten into that exactly. I've always seen it as a quick response vehicle. It's a little bigger than I like to start cruise out with, but if they've got good heads on their shoulders, if I've worked with the players before, this would be a great starting ship. The Nova, the Defiant, the Luna, the Sagan, the new Stargazer from Picard Season 2. And I just love this ship. The Odyssey from STO and Picard. And a couple of extra non-Starfleet frames, the Vorcha and the Mogai. So you've got, right now you've got 3 Romulan and 3 Klingon space frames to use with the second edition. More's coming, but anything from the previous editions, the space frames themselves have changed very little. So if there's a space frame that you're fond of from Utopia Planitia, or there's a couple of them hidden in the animated series PDF guide, as a for instance, there's a couple of space frames hiding in there. You can use them. They'll work just fine. I've been doing a lot of studying and researching on this, and the space frames themselves, some have been tweaked, numbers moved around a little bit, but they're all built with the Utopia Planitia rules, and they work just fine. Then you get some extra mission profiles, and I like these because they are leaning more towards the civilian and some would say shady side merchants, but the civilian, merchant, marine, colony support, logistical support, and the technical testbed profile, which some people were wondering where that had gone. But those are all here. A few extra Starship talents for, especially for 25th century games. Most of this is leaning towards the 25th century stuff. And then we get into the Game Master section of the booklet. And a lot of the things in here, it's advice for Game Masters, but it's, how to do B-plots, how to use extended tasks, more uses for threat, things of that nature. Environmental hazards. I like this because I throw these things at my characters a lot. So anything that helps out. But seek out the unknown, and that's it for the booklet. Let's take a quick look at those reference cards. Now, like I said, they're 8 two-sided cards, and one of the things I noticed as I was going through them is that, and I'll show you this in a minute, but the first card, rules summary, side 1, side 2. Then there's a conflict reference, side 1. Things you can do with momentum on side 2. Then you start getting into the position-oriented cards. I don't want to say specific. I mean, they are kind of specific, but they're oriented. But they all have the same the same front page, for lack of better terms. The standard Starship actions. This is all things that happen for a Starship, but then the next side changes depending on the position. Command and communications. The various actions you can take there. Again, next card. Starship standard actions on one side, helm and navigation on the other. Starship standard actions, operations and engineering. Standard actions, tactical. And then you've got a Starship conflict card to go with the personal conflict card. Side 1 and side 2. And then you've got breaches. More detail for breaches because that's kind of free form. That's a two-sided card. About that, it's also useful, I would think. I'm going to have to sit down and look at it again. But you could use this card with Captain's Log. And I think that would go just fine. I think that'd be just fine. You get the PDF of the map and the poster and the map and the poster because it's two sides of the same sheet of paper. And it's a little frustrating, and I've harped on this, and I'm going to stop now. I'm sorry. Let me get on with what we're doing. Look at this. This is one of the coolest, most evocative pieces of art I've ever seen, especially, put on to a GM screen. This is inspiration for days for me. Again, Paolo Puggioni. He does this a lot. He is one of my favorite artists in this game, and I think you've seen why, because some of these covers and things are just fabulous. And then you've got the other side of the GM screen, and it's got a lot of helpful things for the GM. Again, your mileage is going to vary. Not everybody gets the same utility out of the screen. Like I said, I know a lot of people who don't like to use the screen. They want to keep everything open. But it's got a lot of things to do with momentum and threat, how to deal with starship damage. But those are the 4 panels of the GM screen. And that's it. It's a good, solid piece of work. There's a lot of very useful material, especially in that game booklet. Those extra space frames, for me, are close to worth the price of admission. Having a GM screen that'll turn small caliber rounds and most bladed weapons, that's just a bonus. But that's all there is to that. It's a good value in my opinion. I think any game group that plays this game is going to get a lot of use out of it, especially if they need the extra space frames or mission profiles for their game. And I like it. I think you should go get it. I think you won't regret it. And I'm going to stop talking about it because I've gotten into repeating myself. But I appreciate you stopping by. I appreciate you taking a look at this. Have a good evening or afternoon or morning or whatever period of the day you happen to be in. Guys, live long and prosper. Thanks for coming by. I appreciate everything. Do all the YouTube things. Tell your friends. Share this around. Hit like and subscribe and all that happy jazz. Next time, I will have the first part of... technically, it's the second part. It's the first part of my 32nd century space frame conversions. And... I don't know how many episodes the Build the Future thing is going to have, but I can see at least 3 more. And I will see you in the next one. Thanks for stopping by.